Here we are, week 2. Hearts of service. That's our monthly theme, hearts of service. And so today we're talking about guiding hearts. So let's talk about hearts for a moment, okay? Might as well, right? Hearts of service is the month. Okay, here you go. Average adult heart beats 72 times a minute, 100,000 times a day, 3,600,000 times a year, and 2.5 billion times a lifetime. It's a lot of beating. Now, a human heart, adult heart, weighs only about 11 ounces, right? That's your average healthy heart. And it pumps 2,000 gallons of blood through 60,000 miles of blood vessels every day. It's quite the journey. Here's what they liken it to. If you turned on your kitchen faucet full blast and you left it going 45 years, 45 years, that would be equal to about the amount of blood pumped through the heart in an average lifetime. Every day, your heart generates enough energy to drive a truck 20 miles. How about that? In a lifetime, that's the amount of energy equivalent to driving to the moon and back. It's quite the powerful organ. Because the heart has its own electrical impulse, it will continue to beat as long as it has an oxygen supply, even if it's separated from the body. A heart pumps blood to almost all of the body's 75 trillion cells. Only the corneas receive no blood. Yeah, how about that, right? Did you know that? No, it's because they have to stay transparent, so they can't have blood vessels to them. They get nutrients through the vitreous humor. Anyway, French physician René Laennec, 1781 to 1826, he invented the stethoscope when he felt it was inappropriate to place his ear on the chest of his well-endowed patients. Okie dokie. Well, there you go then. What else can I tell you? The pressure of the human heart generates enough pressure to squirt blood 30 feet across a room. So now all those slasher films you've seen, now you know it's really true. All the way across the room. And here's an interesting thing. The hearts of two people who are in love with each other will begin to synchronize after the couple has gazed into each other's eyes for at least 3 minutes. Oh, yeah, that's an awe. Isn't that adorable? Oh. Okay, here's another little bit of information. Men who are having an affair, cheating on their spouses, are more likely to die of cardiac arrest during sex. There's a little bit of karma for you. Well, how about that? Anyway, so it's just a couple of little helpful, handy factoids about the heart. So, nothing about women. How about that? Seems like it only, the fairest sex. We just don't do that. So what did the ancients think about the heart? What did the ancients think? Yeah, the Greek philosopher Aristotle, he identified the heart as the most important organ of the body. He said it was the seat of intelligence, not the brain, but it was the heart that was the seat of intelligence, our motion, our ability to move around, and sensation. The Egyptians believed that the heart, rather than the brain, was the source of human wisdom. And it was through the heart they believed that God spoke, giving ancient Egyptians knowledge of God and God's will. In the Middle Ages, there was a practice known as post-mortem ablation, which was removing the heart from the body when the body died and burying it elsewhere. And it was usually only done in the upper classes if someone died away from home or on the battlefield or at the Crusades. The body was buried wherever it fell, but the heart was removed and brought back to the hometown and buried in the home cemetery or the hometown. How sentimental. That's when the heart was started becoming associated with love. In the 19th century, Frédéric Chopin had his heart removed. He died in Paris. His heart was removed, preserved in alcohol, and it was smuggled away, and it was buried in his hometown in Poland. So we are sentimental creatures about our hearts, aren't we? That's just awesome. So what does it mean then to live open-hearted if we're guiding hearts into this way of living? Tatum Firestad said this: living with an open heart is like riding your favorite roller coaster. I love that. Exciting, thrilling, terrifying. And when the ride is over, you want to get right back on. That's living open-hearted. Just accepting whatever comes, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. You know, it's easy sometimes to share our open-heartedness with people who share our beliefs, right? Who have similar thoughts and beliefs and values. It's really, really easy to be open-hearted around people that you agree with, that have the same sense. But what about all people? How is it that we can remain open-hearted with people we share nothing in common, right? And you know what I'm talking about. We've all been to those Thanksgiving dinners with our families who are like total strangers, right? Where we think we have absolutely nothing in common with these people. How the heck were we born to the same parents? You know, or whatever. How is it that we can be so different? And you know, those critical, judgmental friends and families that we have, we just can't believe that we're sitting with. Jean-Paul Sartre said, "Hell is other people." And isn't that true, really, you know? And we have all been on both sides of that equation, yes? We've all been judging and we've all been judged. We've all been judged sitting around the table, right? We've all been judged and been found wanting, right? You know, we're wrong for all kinds of things. Our family members think we're wrong for our politics, or we're wrong for our dating habits, or we're wrong for this or that. I mean, coworkers think we pick the worst candidates, and it happens all the time to us, doesn't it? I mean, we're all judged. And then when we think about it, we're like, yeah, but you know, I do the same thing sometimes, right? And here's the thing. We can agree to disagree. We can suspend people from our lives if they're toxic. I mean, we're allowed to do that. Ernest Holmes said, we're spiritual, we are not spiritual doormats. So if it becomes toxic, we can, at certain times, disinvite people from our lives. You know, sometimes we can just agree to disagree. Sometimes we have to suspend the relationship. And we know that we can put people out of our life, but we never have to put them out of our heart. See, that's the difference. And that's what that pure loving is. That's what that unconditional loving is. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about guiding hearts. Matthew 5:8 says, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." Pure in heart, pure in heart. The pure in heart among us are those who stay steadfast in this idea that God is love and we are that. God is love and we are that. And to hold nothing against any other human. Just to hold nothing, you know, just to meet each other in that field of all possibilities and know that we know nothing. I know nothing about this person, so that we don't judge. You know, the pure in heart among us are the people who remain steadfast, who keep knowing the best, knowing the wholeness of ourselves and each other, regardless of behavior. Regardless of behavior. We can remember that each and every incarnation of spirit is just that. We are incarnations of spirit. So that's spirit standing in front of us. So before we judge them that have bad, whatever, hair or behavior or shoes, those shoes don't match that bag, you know. Whatever that criticism is you're just about to say, remember you're speaking it of spirit. The pure in heart love unconditionally, not based on action, not based on behavior. We don't have to earn Spirit's love. Unconditional love is the love Spirit has for us. Spirit just loves. It just loves. It can't not do that. That's all it does. The Creator loves its creations. Not because we behave in a certain way. Boy, would we be out of luck. Not because we behave in a certain way, but God just loves because it loves. And so that's the kind of guided heart. That's the kind of pure in heart that we want to practice. We want to practice that. Loving as Spirit loves. Loving unconditionally just because we are. Just because we exist. We love humanity just because it exists. Because we are some part of the whole life of Spirit, right? We talk about that all the time. Core concept number 1. God is all there is. Well, if God is all there is, then God is all there is. Either we accept it or we don't. So that means God has filled up this room and the freeway and this country and the world, the planet, and who knows, outside of that. I have no idea, but it might be, right? God is all there is. So we are some part of the life of Spirit. We are some part of the life of Spirit, as is everything else. So there's no way we could not love that. So you would think, because we are some part of the life of Spirit, it would be easy. But damn that free will. We are free to pick and choose what we believe. We are free to judge. We are free to be unloving. We are free to think and feel whatever we want. In Proverbs 4:23, it says, guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. Because what you think and what you believe, you will be. You will become. Right? We can choose loving, supporting, generous thoughts. We can choose judgmental, hateful, condemning thoughts. We are free to choose. But we have to choose wisely, because we wind up living those thoughts and those feelings that we think. It's up to us. It's up to us. And the book hasn't come in yet, but it's coming. It's up to us. Ernest Holmes said this. He said, the law of life is a law of thought, an activity of consciousness. The power flows through us. Spirit can do for us only what it can do through us. Unless we are able to provide the consciousness, it cannot make the gift. The power behind all things is without limit. But in working for us, it must work through us. So we are in alignment. We are part of this tremendous power, this limitless power, and we are allowing it to flow through us into the world. And we are using whatever aspect of it that we choose. We bring to life our feelings and our thoughts, and we are punished or rewarded by them. They determine the course of our life. You know? And we can choose to be those miserable old, hey, you kids, get off my lawn kind of people, you know? You get to choose that. And what happens is when we resonate with the negative and with the horrible and with the hateful and with the condemning and the judgmental attitudes, then we get to resonate in that vibration. That's what we're immersed in. That's what's all around us. We resonate in the vibration of those thoughts and feelings, and we raise or we lower that frequency that is around us based on what we're thinking and feeling. That's why it's in our best interest to keep those thoughts high. It's in our best interest to keep the thoughts high. Keeping the highest and the best about everything and about everyone. And it doesn't cost us anything to think the higher thought than the lower thought, does it? It's no more energy to pick the higher road than the lower road. We infuse everything that we do with the energy in which we do it. We infuse everything we do with the energy with which we do it. So if we're doing charity work, but we're doing it all in anger or resentment or better than in ego because we're so great and they're so poor, that's the energy we're infusing it with. We might as well stay home. You know, if we're going to do good work with a bad attitude, you see the energy that we're infusing it with. Our thoughts and feelings betray us. It was Paul's counsel to the Romans. He was referring back to Proverbs when he said in Romans, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him something to drink. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. That's a directive, right? That's a directive. Somebody's miserable, you know those people. They're always in front of you in the grocery store, aren't they? Those cranky, crabby people. Okay, so what do? You infuse the situation with love. And I'm not even thinking in terms of thine enemy. I mean, that's kind of like that's a whole big metaphysical thing. But even we harbor thoughts of negativity and judgment and criticism with our friends, don't we? They come walking in with like different hair, or something. You go, oh God, that's awful. Oh, why did she do that? Yes, darling, you look lovely. We do it all the time, right? We do it with our friends. We do it with our families. Our feelings betray us. And what happens is, when we're not being true to ourselves, when we're not being authentic, when we're saying one thing and doing another, when we're feeling judgmental and critical and harsh with other people, it brings our energy down. It brings God's calling. It brings the vibration down in us. We can be less than unconditionally loving with people. I know it's a surprise, right? We can be less than unconditionally loving with people we love, right? Those are the people we really feel comfortable around. We can show them our worst because we think, well, they love us. They won't reject us. I can just be as miserable as I want because there's unconditional love here. It's your energy. It's your vibration that you're affecting. It's your that you're resonating in. It lowers our vibration when we're being mean and miserable and judgmental and critical with anybody else, with anyone. We have to keep that high resolve. We have to keep thinking the best thoughts. This is what you want to demonstrate, isn't it? This is what you want to manifest. You can't manifest the best while you're resonating in the miserable. It's just not going to happen. We keep that high resolve and we are not tempted to fall into the illusion of separation. That is the illusion of separation, that us and them mentality. Ernest Holmes said this in the textbook. This is in the textbook. Go find it, highlight it, stick it up everywhere in your house. On page 298, he says, one of the first things to do is to love everybody. If you have not done this, begin to do so at once. That's it. That's the whole teaching. You can go home now. That's all there is to it. Just go love everybody. Just love everybody. The first thing to do is love everybody. If you haven't done it yet, do it now. Start today, right here, right now. Just do it. This is honest to God. This is the story of Jesus being tempted in the desert. Remember that one? Yeah, you've all heard that one, right? He's out in the desert 40 days, 40 nights. Nothing to eat, nothing to drink. Only has the devil to pal around with. Ernest Holmes said, there is no such thing as the devil, and hell is cooling off as we speak. Metaphysically, it was about the ego, right? It was about all the low thoughts. It was all about the false beliefs for Jesus. That's what it was. I mean, that's all Satan is. That's all sin is. It's an error. It's a false belief. It's a low thought. And Jesus repelled all of them. He went in the desert. He sat there. The metaphysical equivalent of Satan is false beliefs or fear thoughts. Right, so he was tempted with, he was thirsty and he was tempted with drink. He was hungry and he was tempted with food. He was alone. He was tempted with power. So Jesus went into the desert, Jesus of Nazareth, and he came out, Jesus the Christ. Right, because he rejected all the false thoughts. He stayed high. His resolve was high. He stayed with thoughts of truth. He overcame, quote unquote, evil, which was the false belief, by keeping his heart pure, by keeping his thoughts on truth. Now, interesting, Buddha had the same story, didn't he? Right? The story of Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree. Well, he was Siddhartha at that time, right? Sitting under the Bodhi tree. Mara was the demon, Mara, who tempted him with, again, these false beliefs, and we see Buddha sitting there, and so he goes under the Bodhi tree as Siddhartha. He comes out the Buddha. Because again, he wouldn't be tempted into the ego thoughts Mara tempted him with wine and women and all kinds of things, and mockery, and then arrows, then violence. And he stayed with the true thought. And what's really interesting about the Buddha story is that Jesus is the good, triumphs over evil story with Buddha. Buddha, at some point, he speaks the truth about the quote unquote the devil or the thought or Mara. He said, "You have no power over me. You are not even real. You are not even real." So Buddha calls out the false belief for what it is. It's not a devil. It's not some other entity. It's not duality, right? Oh, the devil made me do it. Nobody wants to take responsibility for themselves. It's not an other thing. It is simply a false belief. And then you see pictures of the Buddha and statues, and I love that he's sitting under the Bodhi tree and he has one hand touching the ground. He's grounding himself. There's always one hand usually touching the ground. The idea that he is grounded in the truth and he speaks his word, and this is not even real. Duality doesn't exist. There is only truth, and he speaks of the truth of oneness. And the only thing that divides us is the belief that we're separate. In the Science of Mind textbook, it says, there is one spirit. It is incarnated in everyone. An immortal presence forever expanding everything, causing everything to grow. What a difference it would make in our human relations if we tried to sense the meaning of this divine incarnation in all people and adjust our viewpoint to the truth that we are all bound together in the unity of God. What would it be like? How would it change your life if you laid down hatred? If you jettisoned judgment? If you released resentment? What would your life be like if we walked through just knowing each other and ourselves as incarnations of spirit? How that would change our lives, how that would change the lives of the people around us, how that would change the lives of our communities or states, of our nation, of the world. Ernest Holmes, in Words That Heal today, he said, to love God and to love our neighbor as ourselves means to see God in everything and to include everyone in one divine unity. On this admonition of the Master hangs the meaning of all the divine law, all spiritual prophecy, and all true revelation. We are one. We are one. And as much as we like to separate us and pigeonhole each other and reject some and accept others, it's all God. It's just all God. We are here to know that. We are here to walk in the truth of our unity of all life everywhere. And we see it, don't we? We see it when there's tragedies. We see it when there's traumas. We see it when there's emergencies. We step up to the plate and we do the thing that we know we are. We are one. We are one, and that's living open-hearted. That is, and our living open-hearted guides other hearts. It guides other hearts because we become that in the world, and then the people around us change because we are changed. We are the light. We keep walking the walk and doing the work and being that open heart in the world, and we transform the people around us by our presence in us, in it. Thank you so much.